So we have the next speaker with us, Vanessa, and we have with us Aparna Krishna, who will be facilitating the session. Aparna, who is an electric engineer based out of Coimbatore, and currently she lives in Germany. And she's been part of various voluntary activities at Anadi Foundation. She's a sustainability enthusiast, a minimalist, and a great inspiration for all youngsters to lead a life of simplicity. So I now invite Aparna to introduce the next speaker and facilitate the session.
Yeah, thank you, Ma. And namaste and welcoming everyone again to the final session of this wonderful symposium, which is nothing short of,
it's a university.
Great
symposium एक event है.
Yeah. So from the morning, we have seen amazing speakers like Ma was mentioning, and it has been only a lot of hope, a lot of abundance of positivity, and working towards something bigger than us. And this has only refilled us and fueled us with a lot of enthusiasm and energy, I would say. And we are just waiting to hear more from our next speaker, who I'd like to introduce. Ms. Vanessa Gocksch. I hope I am pronouncing it right. She's originally from Belgium, but she has lived in Colombia for the past 24 years. And she's a mother, makes videos, ceramics, sculpture, and coordinates several cultural and educational events. Vanessa, with her family, moved to Colombia, and she decided 7 years ago with her family that they'll go off-grid and live in the jungles of Sierra Nevada. So, and this was especially on the Cauca indigenous territory. And this is where they found their organization, or say an experimental alternative school, in fact, called Salvatorium. And we would be hearing about that also today. And this has been running for the past 4 years, in fact. Vanessa is also the co-founder of Intermundos, which is definitely encompassing the Salvatorium in itself. She has expressed in several ways, several art forms, photography, art installations, videos, documentaries, and it has been exhibited all around the world. And we cannot wait further to hear from you another beautiful tradition from another part of our world. And I think we will never get enough of all the traditions, but this is the final session for today. Thank you, Vanessa, and welcoming you. Please take over. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that nice introduction. Can you hear me right? Good?
Yeah,
okay.
All is good.
Well, I really wanted to listen to all the other speakers, but it was in the middle of the night, so it was a little bit difficult for me. But it was great to be able to hear Nicolas, very inspiring, this work that he's doing in Peru, that they are doing in Peru. Well, I wanted to, it's always uncomfortable as a Westerner to represent indigenous thought, etc. So I wanted to speak a little bit, about our background and why we are and have a little school on Kogi indigenous territory, because this kind of came about. It wasn't something that we had decided to do, but it came about because we decided to, my husband is Colombian, he's from the capital, and we decided to go live off-grid in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, where we found a beautiful land, and we had our kids, and our kids at one point needed to study. My mother-in-law has run an alternative education school for the last 40 years outside of Bogota, completely alternative education that runs until the last year of high school. So of course, we were very interested in our children having an alternative education. And we even started, before we went to the jungle, we had already opened up a school in the city, Santa Marta. And there we did 2 years, but it didn't work out. So then we went to live in the jungle in Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, so that you understand a little bit where we are. This is the highest mountain coming out of the ocean. So it's the highest peak from the ocean, like the steepest. It's 5,700 meters. and it's a mound that's alone with four indigenous communities: the Kogi, the Arhuaco, the Cancuamo, and the Wiwa. And they have been able to maintain themselves very autonomous in this region. We decided to go there. We bought a land, and at the same time that we bought the land land around us became indigenous Kogi territory, part of their indigenous reserve, because they have been very lucky to be able to get money, and they have been buying back all of the land on the Sierra Nevada. So so we bought this land. We had our kids. We needed them to study, so we started a little. We had teachers come up. We would give them classes, homeschooling, and at one point, and there was next to us, there was an indigenous school for Kogi children, and at one point, this little indigenous school next to us, where 60 kids study, it shut down for 5 months because of basically corruption. Money was stolen, it couldn't open anymore. And so there's about 8 kids that started coming to study at our house. And they studied with us for about 4 months. After this experience, their mother, she said she really liked our school and that she wanted the kids to keep studying with us, but we weren't prepared for something like this. We only had one teacher. And so we thought, well, why are we going to have a school here if there's an indigenous Kogi school right next to us? So we decided, no, what we're going to do is we're going to try to make the school next to us better. We're going to put all of our energies in that project, and we're going to send our kids to this school. So we sent our kids. It was 4. It was my 2 kids and 2 other people's kids that were living with us to the school for a year. And we brought some extra programs there because the situation and with the Kogi is very different than, for example, in Peru, because the Kogi and the Arhuaco, they're indigenous people that haven't been very civilized. They call us the civilized people, and they have really maintained themselves completely separated from Westerners. Actually, the mountain, it's very difficult. You can't go up the mountain. There's no roads. So from where we live, for example, you have to walk 40 minutes to where Salvatorium is. Oh, I wanted to say something. They're connecting also from Salvatorium, and I asked them to share some pictures. So perhaps they're already sharing pictures, and you could share their screen. Hello?
They were on, but they got disconnected.
Oh, okay. So if they come back on, Salvatorium, perhaps you can, if you see that they're sharing some pictures, perhaps you could share them, please.
Yeah. They're getting ready. They got it ready, but somehow they lost the connection.
Yeah, well, we are like 40 minutes away, so sometimes the internet drops.
Yeah.
So from where we are to go up the mountain, you can walk for about 5 hours or 5 days. You can walk for 5 days to go to the highest peaks at 5,000 meters. But that whole area is only for indigenous people. I wanted to have one of our elder students with us today, but he actually went up the mountain, and he hasn't come back down, and I haven't been able to communicate with him. Because I felt it would have been very nice to have his opinion about our process. So, well, like I said, we sent our kids to the local Kogi school, but the thing is, it's very different from many indigenous people from the rest of Latin America, because they have had very little contact with civilization. So all of the little schools that are run by the government and the indigenous community around Sierra Nevada, they are not they've only been in existence for about 10 years, 10 or 12 years. Before that, there was no school at all. They didn't want any sort of Western schooling. So these schools are very new, and there's very few Kogi or Arawaku people or Wiwa people who are prepared to run these schools or become teachers, and much less think of a curriculum, because it's something too new for them, right? So the school that my kids went to, the curriculum was completely the same curriculum as a traditional Colombian, the curriculum of the government, and it wasn't very good, and there wasn't very much traditional things happening. What is the most important for Kogi and Arawaku is because in this school specifically there was Kogi and Arawaku, and it was run by Kogi. It is run by Kogi. Is the whole spiritual work. They really do so much spiritual work constantly. It's one of the most important aspects of the culture. So that aspect was very well taken care of in the school, but perhaps it wasn't so easy for them to to teach things in a different way. So as we saw this, after a year, we decided, well, we wanted to see if we could help them some more to change a little bit the type of education, but it wasn't. There wasn't any possibility to do that there. So then we decided to open up our own school, and that was 4 years ago. And this school was with the support of a few families of Kogi and Arawaku families who wanted the kids to have a different education. And it was, I mean, the whole process has been a process of we are still a very new school. And I think that the whole process of realizing what we should be doing or how we can improve what we're doing is what's interesting. Of course, we started the school with the alternative education that comes from my mother-in-law school, which is called FASE. So this is a very alternative type of education where they differentiate between formation and information, right? So most of the public school system, all they do is kind of fill you with information that you have to memorize. But in the case of my mother-in-law school, which is called FASE, it's all about formation. How are you going to form these children and these young adults? And they work with projects. There's no different grades. There's no exams. There's no the kids are separated in between 5 categories, which is what am I? ¿Quién soy? No. I'm sorry, I'm trying to translate. What am I? Where am I? Where am I from? Where am I going? So they go through this learning pattern of which is more related to their psychological development. And so well, we started to do this, but right away I realized that there was so much. I mean, it's any kind of, in the context of these Kogi children, which do not come to us without even speaking Spanish. What their parents are looking to get from us is that they want their children to learn from us the Western way of seeing the world. They want them to learn to read. They want them to learn mathematics, and they want them to learn Spanish. So what was interesting about what we were offering, one of the first things that was very interesting was that our school it's from 8 to noon. So it's 4 hours. And in the afternoon, the kids, they can go home and keep working with their parents on all of the traditional things that they know how to learn. Because in the context of Kogi and Arawaku, it's incredible to see all of the things that they learn inside their communities. These kids, when they're 15 years old, they know how to plant, they know how to fish, they know how to hunt, they know how to make houses, They know how to cook. They know how to take care of children. I mean, they have such a incredible knowledge by the time that they're teenagers, and all of the spiritual work that they're constantly doing in these communities, right? So for the parents, they saw sending their kids to our school as an advantage because it was only half a day, while the other school, which was from the government, was the whole day. It's from 8 to 4. And since kids live so far away in this mountain, a lot of it's an internship. So most of the kids are there all for months. They're there for months, and which is something that kind of ruins the whole way that they're not raised by their families anymore. They're just raised completely in a different context. So that's something that the indigenous Kogi and Arhuaco parents have told us that they don't like. They've said, you know, they learn how to eat different foods, and then they don't want to eat what we offer. They don't learn to work the land, to help out in the house, etc. So that was one of the first positive things. And then let me see here. So so one of the important, you know, things that I find como like, because all of this process that we have this school, you know, where we are teaching indigenous children, Kogi children, I always ask myself, am I really doing something good? Or is this something that, you know, is more bad than good? And a lot of the indigenous people have told me, you know, it's what we have seen as a result of the education that the kids are receiving is more negative than positive in general terms. But they're the ones who do want their kids to be educated, and they're searching for them to have this education. And it's important also to understand why. So in their context, in their where they live, they don't really need Western knowledge, right? They're completely autonomous. They practically don't use money even, but they still sometimes, some of the parents want their kids is to learn the basic stuff, like how to count so that they can maybe go down the mountain and sell their crop and not get robbed, and just, you know, have basic reading skills and to be able to understand a little bit, you know, to defend their culture. And then there's other parents who want their kids to be able to go to the university so that they can become or doctors or leaders or dentists, because there's a few people in their community that have these roles. So those are the two different, you know, options that the parents are looking for with us. So but not, anyways, I've always wondered, you know, if what we were doing was really something good or not. Because in the end, any kind of education, Western education, is going to be a civilizing act. And for example, the basic, you know, Westerners, we are such individualists, and even the type of education that we offer with the FASE system is it's all about like, discovering your own abilities and what you want to do in your life, and what you're you know, what find your own way, what you're interested in, etc., etc. So it's very individualistic. And while in these communities are completely communal, you know, they call between themselves, they call each other mother, daughter, father, between families, and they would do a lot of work in community. They all wear the same clothing, so it's a very communal environment. And then what we propose to them is that they have to find to to find their own individuality, which is goes completely against, I think, that the worldview that they have. And I had an example of this at one point in another project that we did that was teaching people to transform mango, because just like in India and Colombia, we have lots of mangoes. My neighbors have about 200 mango trees, but they didn't sell any of it because the price that they were getting for the raw mango was too low to even go and collect it and bring it down the mountain. So I was teaching them how to make a mango jam and mango chutney. And so we had this whole project happening with some of the teenagers from my neighbor's house. And at one point, I asked the teenagers, what do you want to do with your products? Do you want to keep them so you have, mango to eat when it's the rainy season and there's no fruits? Or do you want to try and sell them? And they didn't know what to answer me. And after a while, the parents were angry with me, and I didn't know why until they told me, no, you can't ask them what they want to do. You have to tell them what they have to do, because in our community, we tell our youngsters what they have to do. So those are the kind of differences that I've come to find, and this whole thing with individualism, which is related to the idea of how we form them, no? How the really basic formation. And then the other thing is that we do work with books. Most of the work that we do is with books. We're teaching them to read, to write. And so the whole idea of abstract thinking is just completely different. And of learning through theory is completely different. And there's like, it's like, for example, I've seen a Kogi woman come to my house and look at a magazine and look at the pictures upside down, because she was never taught to look at, flip them over. She can just see them even if they're upside down. So there's no right, left, up, down, like we have it. So it's just such a mind change, right? So that's in the formation, there's already something that we're doing that's questionable. And
Madam, I think we lost your voice.
Yeah. Vanessa, I think your voice is not audible. Are you able to hear us?
can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Yes.
So
Yeah. We also see Salvatorium now offline.
hello, can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
We also
Oh,
have the
okay.
Salvatorium online, so we're able to
Yeah.
see the videos.
And are they showing pictures or no?
They're showing the video, they're showing the learning space.
Online video, yeah.
Okay, great. I'm gonna look at it so maybe I can. Oh, it's live. Okay, so we are so in the books also, we find that our books are full of information that are completely foreign to our students, right? Maybe they talk about cars and trucks and malls and hamburgers and all these strange items. So that makes it very, very difficult in the beginning. And clearly, we understand that we have to create a new material, which we have been doing little by little, creating material that is special for them. But this takes a lot of energy and money and time. So and then, in the context of all of this information, it is also in the part of the information, it's a little bit more easy to to be able to give them information that's appropriate for them, that is contextualized. Maybe formation is not so, the formation is not so easy because it's just everything's so different, but in the information we can really give them a better, we can cater more to their needs. For example, we know, I mean, one of the things is like the scientific method of the scientific way that we understand everything in the world. It's categorizing everything, just so much categorization, and it's this categorization it doesn't exist in their culture. For example, we in science, you separate felines from other types of mammals. So in the Sierra Nevada, there's like 6 types of feline. There's the jaguar, there's ocelote, there's tigrillo, and those are all in science. All of those go into one category, while all of the animals that are like dogs or wolves go in another. And in their culture, the relation is completely different. It's there might be a tiger is related to an anteater and a special kind of bird, because there's a spiritual connection. So we try to find out this information with our students, have them investigate this information, and so that they can understand both aspects, the scientific aspect as well as their cultural aspect. And also, for example, the solar system, we teach them about our view of the solar system, but at the same time, they have a completely different view, where the world is in the middle, it's flat, and there's, I think, 7 worlds on top and 7 below, or 9 and 9, I don't remember exactly. And so this, they learn both views. And for example, also ceramics. I'm a ceramic maker, but I cannot teach them to make ceramics. I do teach them, but they can't burn the ceramics because it's too sacred for them, and they cannot transform the earth, right? So we do the ceramics, but then we never burn it with them, and as a respect for their culture. But even in ceramics, the different kinds of bowls or pans or different items are each connected to a mountain, to a different mountain. So there's a whole like spiritual worldview that we have to, learn to understand and respect within the classes. Sometimes we have had some classes that involve traditional arts and crafts, like extracting fiber from a plant to make bags, or the fathers and mothers have come to give classes to weave the bags, etc. But in general, the parents, they don't want to teach these traditional crafts because they say that's what they learn at home, and that with us they have to learn the Western information. Also, it's been very, we'd like to teach them a lot of art, music. We're teaching them how to use computers and make videos and radio theater, as well as writing, a lot of writing, creative writing, and a lot of expression, because we feel that one of the most important things is that they be able to speak in public so that they could, represent their communities well. And sometimes the parents question this because it is, everything that is made in Arahuaco or Kogi culture is made with with intention. They're very efficient communities. They don't rely on petroleum for anything or money. So everything that they create the most efficient way possible. They don't believe in wasting time. There's no extra time to be wasted. And so when we do art, for example, or music, they don't understand what the purpose of these things are. because all of their music is music that is made to call the rain or to stop the rain, or say all of their music has a spiritual purpose. And all of the artistic work that they do also have a spiritual purpose, and is also always imbued with intention. Everything is imbued with intention and thought. So sometimes they don't understand, but they have come to understand it a bit better. I mean, there's different opinions also, and it's been very good because our students are very, what we have seen as a result is that we have our eldest students are able to speak in public and express their ideas and have critical thoughts, which is very, very important, because they're the ones who are going to be defending their territory, and our objective is to prepare them for this. And they're very focused on that idea. The knowledge that they acquire with us, they know, and they want it to be for the service of their community. Like I said, one of the most important aspects of the culture is the spiritual work. So we make sure that we are on top of our spiritual offerings in the school. In the context of their culture, very briefly, I'm going to describe it, although I'm not, I don't know so much about it, but we always do it. There's the way that spiritual work is done is with cotton. Cotton grows in the Sierra Nevada. So you take cotton in your fingers, and most of the time you think of maybe like if there's a problem, maybe all the bad things that have happened, or all the bad dreams you have had, and you deposit all these things in the cotton. And we do this with all of the children. And we do it with a spiritual leader, which is called a mama, or a male. Those are the men, and the women are called saha. In our case, we work with a saha, which is the mother of 5 of our students, and her father, which is a mama. He lives very high up on the mountain, so he comes down sometimes, and she accompanies us all the time with the spiritual work. And so we, and the cotton is deposited, the bad thoughts, the bad energy. And then you take other cottons where you put all of the food that you're going to give to the spirit, to the place. Every house in the Sierra Nevada has a sacred place, which is around a tree, where all of the offerings are offered. And so the offerings are practically only thoughts. Sometimes stones and other objects are used. And in the case of, for example, the offerings that we do for the school, there's a time of the year that we have to sit down with all the children and think about all of the materials that we have used during the year. So all of the pencils, the books, the papers, the computers, and kind of clean up all of this and make the offering for all of this stuff that we're using and taking from nature. So it's very beautiful, this constant work of being conscious of everything that is used in nature, and everything that we take and how we use it and what we use it for and what we're thinking, etc. So this is really amazing, and we take part in all of this, which is very important in the context of this territory. And something that's so yeah, like I said, we always try to make it as contextualized as possible, all of the classes. And then also after some time, I came to understand that you also have to really think again on what is it that these kids really need to learn. What is it that they really need to learn? And in the Sierra Nevada, there's a huge problem with health. There's really a tremendous problem with the health. And we see, malnourished children, we see children dying, we see just tons of problems. So one of the classes we decided to start last year was a health class. And I really like that Nicolas also has a health class. So we have a health class for the children so they can learn, there's so much information. How to take care of your health should be a class all over the world for everybody. So in this class, we have, nutrition, hygiene, also so that they understand how Western medicine works. And of course, we have identified all of the plants of the Salvatorium, and we're learning how to make medicine with these plants. There's investigation with their elders, where they go and ask them the names of the plants, what they're used for, etc. And then we also have another class that we think was very important, which is food sovereignty. Food sovereignty, where they are learning how to transform maybe cacao or making jams, or making drying the yucca plants. Just learning how to transform food, because also with global warming, they're also feeling the changes in the climate, and the seasons aren't as dependable as before. So the rain season isn't as dependable. There's maybe more droughts, etc. So it's important in this moment that they can maybe learn to save food for harder times. And also, pues, they're interested in getting a little bit more money sometimes, so they want to be able to sell products. So this is also another option. And something that so yeah, this is something we want to keep working on, like really figuring out what they need to know. Something like, for example, carpentry is also something that's super important where we live. And or they're very interested in solar energy. So we've also given them some workshops to learn about how to make solar panels, etc. And another aspect, something that we really like to teach them very well, is reading comprehension. Because in most of the schools in Colombia, in the countryside, they learn how to read, but they don't really understand what they're reading. So we really are trying to prepare them to be able to be good readers that can continue to learn as they grow. And that's what we're thinking for a future of the school is that what we would like is for our older students to be able to study, maybe a few of them in university, and then come back and be in charge of the school themselves, become the teachers, run the school. That's what we would like for the future of the school. And bueno, that's about what I have to say. I'd like to see if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you, Vanessa. That was a very wonderful depiction, and also, in fact, having the video of Salvatorium, like somebody said, it was like a documentary in itself. You giving the voiceover and be able to see the whole of Salvatorium. And I think one of the questions I would also like to ask is the schooling structure. Right now, it is placed in a indigenous community area, but also the same schooling structure, do you also foresee being spread in Colombia, in different parts of Colombia, in the cities or somewhere of that level where it is more westernized, for example? Yeah.
Well, I mean, my mother-in-law's school, FASE, it's a alternative education school, which has a very specific teaching system, and there's a big school next to Bogota with about 130 students. And then in two other cities, there's the same school. In our school is taking from that teaching methodology, but we're adapting it for the region. We really, it needs to change quite a lot. And it's a process that takes a long time, because I mean, this culture is very particular. And I don't think you could just take what we are doing and take it to another region in Colombia. It wouldn't work, because it's every region is so different. They speak different languages, different cultures. But there's a lot of aspects of our school. I mean, we're we are learning so much, and we're protocolizing everything, and you know that I think we could be you know, copied somewhat in another context, and then they would have to change certain things, right? Because but there's a real need for what we're doing, because all over the country, there's people who are choosing to leave the cities to go, people who are educated, choosing to leave the cities to go live in the countryside. And they bring a lot to the countryside because they bring, you know, resources, and they don't want to cut down the forest. They want to conserve the forest. So a lot of people buying a lot of land to keep it virgin. But then all of these people, they're trying to set up little schools, which are more, you know, because what the government offers is so poor that people like want to set up little alternative schools in different places. But most of these projects fail because it's so complicated, you know, and there's no. We've been. I mean, in the city, everybody lives a completely different life, and to go back to the countryside and learn again how to live with communities, sharing with other communities, creating communities, it's so complex. It's going to take a few decades and maybe a few generations to be able to reconstruct, you know, this because now, I mean, the Kogi and the Arhuaco, they have their own communities. If probably the best for them is for like to once again be completely cut off from the West, from civilization, because what is coming close to them, most of it is not very good. But the reality is that it's, you know, everything is getting more mixed together, and so it's important to be able to create new communities, you know, where we can live together with indigenous people and share, you know, learn from each other and share what is good, and in a different way. So this is all, I mean, it's like what we're doing, I think, is an experiment, you know, and I hope that we're able to continue, because it's very difficult, and that it will be useful in other people's experiments and in other parts of Colombia.
Thank you for that answer. Ma, would you like to add something, or can you?
Yeah, we have two questions. Like, you know, is oral tradition a way of, you know, transmitting knowledge, and is storytelling the main way to pass on the tradition?
Yes, I mean, in their culture, what I've seen is that
Your voice is not audible.
Do you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Yes. Okay, sorry, I keep having to turn on a little speaker. They learn through doing, and then they learn through oral tradition. So they sit down with especially the spiritual authorities, and for hours, for hours, for nights, for days, listening to the stories, and that's how they learn. And but that's something that they do when they go home to their houses. And then what we do is try to, you know, promote in them that they should do more of this. So some of our students, they go up the mountain and they find their grandfather, and then they interview them and they record it, and then they write it down, and, you know, so that they can, you know, develop more interest in that. And really their interest lies very much in their own culture. But yes, they do learn through oral tradition and storytelling.
I also see another person raising hand. Madhuri, can you have one more question?
Yeah. Thank you for this sharing. I wanted to ask, in your space, how would you, I mean, do you have do you create a space for dialogue to balance the perspectives or the questions that may arise while the learners are observing different environments at different times? I know they're part of the same environment, but then you're bringing in the Western perspectives, and they go back and learn from their traditional perspective. So, do you have a space for dialogue? To kind of help them build their worldview. B, to also see if there are any gaps both in the system that you are introducing and in the system that they are traditionally being brought up with.
Well, we do this at an individual level, but no, we don't do this too much. More with the parents. When we do reunion with the parents and the elders, the older students, is when we do this kind of work of analyzing a bit, what we're doing, what their perspective is. But I think that it's something that, I haven't found a way to also share in an adequate way more aspects of Western culture, because I feel like it's so hard for them to understand the Western world from where they are. And sometimes it's very attractive to them because it's so easy. Everything is so easy in our culture. And what they see of the Western world is very limited, because near where we live, there's a town which is full of tourists. And so it's like what they're seeing is like this environment of what they've seen all their life is, on the one hand, there's like this environment of fishermen, drug trafficking, and tourism. And so they have this view of the world, which is kind of that, and the immediacy of what they're seeing. They're also being, they're starting to get connected to the internet for the past 5 years. More and more of them have cell phones, and they go down to town and they go to somebody's house and they see movies. And so they're getting bombarded with like this reality of the West, which they really understand. They don't understand very well. And it's very hard to try and make them that they could understand it in a different way. I mean, the adults have a very clear understanding and of how, especially the Kogi and the Arhuaca have been very good at protecting nature, protecting their mounds, and have a very vivid voice, even on the international stage, as protectors of natures, and they understand very well a lot of things. But the teenagers, it's harder, because in the end they're teenagers. So you try to give them a perspective, but it's complicated. So little by little, as they develop, we're trying to share more information with them.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Vanessa, and thank you, Aparna, for facilitating this session. A very, very insightful session. And like, as I've been repeating, so many aha moments as you were relating various indigenous concepts. So we welcome you to visit India, and visit our foundation as well. We have a learning center, Gurukulam, which we call a traditional learning space where children reside here 8 years onwards, and learn Sanskritam, which is the ancient language, and also the source texts which are written in Sanskritam with respect to life sciences, mathematics, astronomy, ecology. And we also have cows, a lot of them, and children get to interact with the cows. So that way, the whole day has been a very fulfilling day. I now invite Varalakshmi to propose the vote of thanks for this symposium.
Namaste. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So, Dear esteemed speakers, participants, and colleagues, as we draw the curtains on this enriching global symposium on traditional knowledge systems-based education, I feel immensely privileged to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to everyone who contributed to the success of this event. First and foremost, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to our distinguished guest speakers, Professor Jacoba, representing the Pacific perspective, Mathushri, adding to the Gurukula model, Dr. Shushila Madan, representing Ekal Vidyalaya, Srimati Kulnaji and Sri Avatar Sahniji for the Manipuri perspective, Pakani Hoffman for the Kenyan perspective, Mr. Nicholas, Mr. Francisco on the Incan perspective, and Vanessa ji for the Colombian perspective. Your expertise and insights on their respective topics were not only enlightening, but also instrumental in enhancing our understanding of the traditional knowledge systems overall. The point you made about the innate connectedness with nature was particularly very resonant, providing us with a lot of valuable perspectives. I also wish to acknowledge the contributions of Professor Jacoba, whose thoughts on early childhood education in the Samoan culture offered a very profound implication for a lot of work that we already work on, especially the Sadvidya curriculum and things. Your discussion on decolonization was enlightening and has left a lasting impression on all of us. Srimati Kulnaji, your story was so vibrant and as inspiring as the Manipuri culture. To our participants from across the globe, your enthusiasm and engagement have been the backbone of the symposium. Your questions, insights, and discussions have added immense value to our collective learning experience, I would say. A special thanks goes to our organizing committee, the moderator team, and the technical support team who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure the smooth running of this online event. Your dedication and hard work made the symposium not only possible but also a very great success. Lastly, I want to thank all attendees for your active participation and for sharing your diverse perspectives. The success of the symposium is a reflection of your commitment to understanding and promoting traditional knowledge systems education. As we conclude, let us carry forward the insights and the knowledge that we have gained from this symposium to continue making meaningful contributions to the field of education. We look forward to future collaborations and to building upon the discussions and ideas that emerge from this event. We would keep in touch with all of you. I'll end with a very small invocation. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you, Ananda.
Thank you all for your participation. Do check out the website ciks.anadi.org. We will be posting the videos there and also different articles and blog posts on indigenous education, epistemology, pedagogy, and much more in this topic. Sometime soon, we hope to have an in-person event. I don't know where in the globe, if possible in Bharat. We pray to the Almighty to make this happen. Namaste, everyone.